welcome to the studio here in Paris. And today we are talking the sector with Bobbi Harris. Bobbi, always good to see you. How are you?
Thank you, Claire. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
You were one of our advisory panel for the Global Power and Energy Elites. What did you think of the submissions this year?
Gosh, I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised, not only at the number of submissions, but the diversity from regions around the world and from sectors around the world and individuals and companies that, frankly, I had never even read about. So just the sheer number was impressive, but the differences and the stories that I had never heard and the technologies I had not heard about, those successes were truly remarkable. And to have the chance to read those firsthand and to hear their stories being told, to me was just an honor, and really told me that our industry and our future globally is really quite bright if we can continue to nurture those successes and to duplicate those successes.
Yeah, it's always so much fun reading about the just the initiatives and the innovation and the passion that these people put into their jobs.
Yes, and passion's an excellent word for it. I think in this industry particularly, in power, energy, water, natural gas, when you're solving these kinds of challenges, you've got to get on your soapbox a little bit. You've got to be passionate about it.
And vocal.
And yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so I think that's the interesting part. The innovations are incredible that are coming together because, again, people are seeing a need and a real challenge and saying, we're not going to solve this the way we solved it 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We have to have new thinking and we have to look at this with a new set of eyes. And I think that's the brilliant part of it.
So we've spoken before about the sector and the role of diversity within that sector. And I know that your perspective on that is, I suppose, very inclusive. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Happily. The utility industry, to me, is the one place where it doesn't matter what your sex is, it doesn't matter what your education truly is, it doesn't matter what your background is, there's an opportunity for you there. And I think that's something that we've seen change a lot in the last 10 years. Not only more of the STEM educational areas, not only more women and people from different sectors of the world coming together, but also different degrees or non-degree people coming into the space, because there's a job for everyone. I like to tell even the high school students and first-year college students, if you're not sure where your future lies, go have a talk with your local utility, water, gas, electric. Go have a chat with those folks because they need skills at all levels.
Yeah.
And certainly, the smart devices are bringing on the gaming, the millennial infrastructure. Those folks, they really want to play with the gadgets, and that's fabulous because, boy, have we got gadgets. And you can see that at this event. We've got gadgets. But we've also got jobs that still need manual labor, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a wonderful job to have. As a matter of fact, that's the jobs that we need most of all. So I say to young people, men, women, it matters not. Come have a look at the utility industry and help us be that next level of innovation. Because utilities now are really looking at what does it mean from a customer service perspective. People want to be engaged with their utility. Come be part of that and help us solve these next issues because there's a lot of them.
I always believe that the utility sector is probably one of those that is the most underrated because we rely on the work that our utilities do so much and we don't appreciate it until it's not there.
That's absolutely
So
right.
if people are interested in making a difference, this is definitely a way that they can do
This
it.
is the place to do that. Absolutely. You're right. Because if you don't have power or you don't have water, all of a sudden your life gets very chaotic.
And complicated.
And complicated and scary sometimes. So come help solve those so that we have less brownouts and blackouts, so that we have less of the rolling stops of water, so that we can really bring about the future generations, because we've got a lot of mouths to feed.
So talking about underappreciated sectors, you have a focus that is not just on energy, but incorporates water and smart cities. Why those three elements?
It's interesting. For 20 years, I've heard the discussions around energy and green development, and now smart cities and smart communities, and water was always left out of the conversation. So that's why I named my company Smart Water, Smart City, because I truly, passionately believe you cannot claim to be a smart city or smart community if you don't have a smart water infrastructure, or at least a plan toward that. And when you truly think about the way energy and water are coming together and how they rely on each other, and you think about the cities and the communities that they touch and how they touch them, the smart cities infrastructure has to have water as part of the dialogue. Now, will we ever get to the place where it's one solitary network that all of the utilities can plug into and share data? And I don't know. I know in some cities that's beginning to work, and it's brilliant to see that happening, tearing down those silos, bringing water and energy utilities together, and meeting with the city councils and the mayors and saying, here's what we're going to do together for our residents. And that's brilliant. I think we can do more of that. And as long as water's part of the conversation, I'll be happy. Water's one of those things that you truly cannot live without. And when you see things happening, not just water scarcity, that's a big problem, but in areas where you think there's plenty of water, that's great, but what's the quality of that water? And can we really still sustain that kind of infrastructure when you're losing 30 or 40% of that clean water before it reaches the end user? Shame on us.
Yeah.
Shame on that city. So we really need to work together to solve that problem. And so that's why I'm a soapbox girl. Water will get me going.
Well, you were with us in Cape Town at the beginning of the year, and last year, particularly when we were in the midst of a really panicked time for our city, where we were days away from having no running water at all. So I suppose for you that really did bring home the importance of properly managing your water resources.
Absolutely. And it says to me, though, even though that crisis has passed, or it's a little less of a crisis now, that doesn't mean that the need to innovate has passed.
Yeah.
Now's the time to take a deep breath and to say, okay, now, who do we need to get in a room together to solve this permanently? What technologies can we bring together? What infrastructure can we put in place? What new ways of managing our water can we do now while we've got a moment to breathe? Because I guarantee you it's only a moment.
I think that is a very important comment, because otherwise we just lurch from one crisis to the next.
Absolutely.
Well, Bobbi, thanks so much for joining us
Pleasure.
today.
Thank you so much, as always.
From the studio here in Paris, thanks for joining us.